This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome on into the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. Pull up a seat. The executives have left Dallas, the Anatole Hotel, the winter meetings, that snow slide in the background of every live hit on MLB Network. And you're like, who's riding that? Anybody riding that? Nobody's riding that. All that is over. We are going live right now up against the Juan Soto press conference at Citi Field. Not on purpose, but isn't that kind of fun? The Yankees still have some more business to attend to. We know now what we knew at the start of the offseason. The best version of the Yankees, the easiest version of the Yankees, I should say, included signing Juan Soto. Then that price became $600 million, then $650, then $700, $750, $760, $800, and Steve Cohen got him. He's putting out sob stories now about how he thought he wasn't going to get him, and I was despondent, and you have $10 trillion. Sorry, you were never really in trouble there. If the reality that we were told that you would have been at by $50 million was true, you were always going to get him, and it turned out that was true. You got him. Anyway, the Yankees are moving on. Their plan B coming into focus. They got Max Fried at the winter meetings. We went live on Tuesday night. Big move. Great start. Gives you rotation flexibility. What's next? We thought we might have to go live again for a Christian Walker signing. Then you wake up on Wednesday. That has cooled off a little bit. It seems like a lot of different Yankees accounts were chasing that and then running away from it. Yeah. There's a good reason, because Kyle Tucker buzz became real, I think, at some point Tuesday night, that he was actually available. If you want him, you can go get Kyle Tucker. Can the Yankees get Kyle Tucker based on what they have in the farm, what they're willing to surrender, and the fact that he's currently an Astro and these two teams hate each other? That is yet to be seen. From what we've heard so far, it does not seem like the Yankees have the strongest offer on the table right now, but that could change, and the Astros' preferences could be different than yours or mine. And what we're hearing about the Cubs package could be incorrect, could be leverage, could be a lie. They could be only offering one of those two major league ready offensive players and not both at the same time. We don't know much, but what we do know is that the Yankees offseason won't move until somebody gets Kyle Tucker. The Yankees have a lot of balls in different courts. I have faith right now that they are going to aggressively double down and improve this offense after creating some pitching flexibility on the trade market. Thomas Carannante, welcome to the show. Curious how you feel about that as well. And that's most of what we have to talk about today, because like everyone else, we are waiting on Kyle Tucker to go down at some point this week. We've got some smaller moves to talk about today too, but it does seem like domino effect, if not an outright three-way trade involving the Yankees, Cubs, and Astros. Probably not that, but there are multiple moves all balancing on Tucker going somewhere.
Could be that. Could be a lot of things. Welcome on in, everybody. I am sick of these accounts chasing news. These people got to stop. It's like anytime there is a free agent that's mentioned or somebody comes off the board, it's like everyone's just pivoting to the next thing. And it's like, oh, this would be a great fit. It's like, sure, maybe, but like it's not happening. So until you actually hear substantial information connecting a player to a team, stop pretending like you know stuff, because you don't. And we will be the first ones to tell you that we don't know either. Our job is to just connect the dots. We're not here to be salacious on social media, though. So please try to follow the information correctly. It's all I ask. I don't ask anything of you guys. Nothing.
I tweeted a screenshot of a Christian Walker YouTube video on Tuesday night. Someone was like, Adam knows something? No, I didn't. I tweeted it. I tweeted it because everyone else was tweeting that Christian Walker was about to be a Yankee. And then 10 p.m., moving closer. 11 p.m., nothing. Midnight, nothing. And when I woke up with no notification, I was like, well, that's not going to happen. Yeah. Like, that doesn't happen. I mean, they could always circle back, but if he was their first priority, they got outbid. And it doesn't seem like he was their first priority, because they've got a lot of other irons in the fire. And they have very obviously pivoted. They could circle back, but I would bet against it.
I agree. I think, again, the priority is to get a little bit younger, to maybe not have as much commitment in terms of multi-year deals. So if you get someone like Tucker, it's a rental, and then you can revisit if you want next offseason. If you get Bellinger, it's 2 or 3 years for somebody who's 29 years old. That's doable. Walker, 34, they're talking about a 3-year deal. Like, the Yankees have run into these problems before. They can't repeat history. I understand Walker seems like a good fit, and he might be, but you can easily understand why they might be pivoting. My whole thing, which is what I'm gradually getting more excited about, is I truly believe with the correct moves, this roster and overall team performance can be better than last year. Will be better in October. I don't know. Depends on the personnel. Juan Soto was the perfect type of personality and big game player to have in the postseason. And that, in tandem with what Giancarlo Stanton was doing, lifted the Yankees and took them as far as they did. Now, you look at someone like Kyle Tucker. Now, you look at someone like Cody Bellinger. That could move the needle. And 2 players is always better than 1, especially if you're talking about a former MVP and all-star caliber players. Like, everyone's saying, oh, you can't replace the production of Juan Soto. I can't replace the presence of Juan Soto. I can't replace the impact of Juan Soto, but I can replace the numbers of Juan Soto. If I get 2 guys who hit 30-plus home runs and drive in 90-plus, that's more than replacing Juan Soto. Mm-hmm. So, again, love Juan Soto. I'm going to miss him very much. Turns out we needed to appreciate that year perhaps a little bit more than we may have, because I think towards the end of it, getting to the World Series, some of us may have taken for granted that he was coming back because of what we had offered him in terms of experience. And we knew that the Yankees were going, or we at least felt like they were going to go into the deep end to keep him. He went for every last penny. He went for every last perk. It is what it is. But we can replace Soto's production. Mm-hmm. We can take probably 60% of that money and spread it around. I know that was like the popular discourse beforehand, right? It was like, oh, 700 for Juan Soto. Why don't you just take 500 and spread it around? Well, it doesn't always work well like that if the right personnel is not out there. I think the Yankees took the right swing with Max Fried in terms of what they need. So you look at that contract structure, which we can get into a little while, but they made it so they could spend more this offseason and next. You look at trades, like, if they're going to go after any trade candidate, it's got to be a rental, because they don't have good enough personnel it's got to be a rental or a salary dump. It's one of those 2 things. They can't go after a player with control. They don't have the prospect capital for that. That's why they were probably not even close to landing Garrett Crochet, which another deal we'll talk about. But in terms of their rebounding, in terms of their pivoting, in terms of the overall attitude and whatnot, like, you can't complain with it. This is as good as it's going to get. We told you the drop-off after Juan Soto this offseason was not pretty, and I think if you can walk out of these winter meetings and you can grade them, give the Yankees a solid B for getting a next deal done as quickly as possible, moving on and figuring out other ways to upgrade this offense, because you look at Kyle Tucker, the guy steals 20-plus bases too. Like, that's another element that Juan Soto did not bring to the table. It's another element this Yankees team needs. So, Jack Curry confirming those trade rumors too makes us feel a little bit better. But I mean, I wish the executives at the winter meetings would have fucking stayed one more day. Everyone leaving early. I don't know what that's about. Nonetheless, some stuff to break down. Overall, I can't complain with what the Yankees have done.
I give them a B2, although it's verging on incomplete, because you'd get a full grade from me if they'd managed to push one more thing across the finish line here. But yeah, is Kyle Tucker a better baseball player than Juan Soto? No, Juan Soto is generational for a reason. There's nobody like Juan Soto. But does Kyle Tucker provide the Yankees with things that they lacked even during their year with Juan Soto if they get him? Absolutely. And the lefty swing, Soto's swing plays anywhere. We've heard we're never going to duck the Juan Soto left you for the Mets allegations, because it's true. He did. But it'll probably pipe down a little bit after today. But people during, the Yankees v Mets war, everybody thought the Red Sox were in there and the Jays. They were citing, Soto. How could he leave Yankee Stadium after the best offensive year of his career? His offensive numbers at Citi Field are absolutely ridiculous. And that ballpark holds a lot of people back, but not him, because he's absurd. So clearly he sees the ball well at Citi Field. There are no dimensions that can hold Juan Soto. So, he's Juan Soto anywhere. But Kyle Tucker's lefty swing plays up at Yankee Stadium. That's an unbelievable fit. You see it every time the Astros come to New York. This past summer, he homered in the first inning of all three of the 4 games of a 4-game set, I believe, just instantaneously poking the short porch, going to that little second deck tucked in there, and dominating the New York Yankees. And best of all, if you get Kyle Tucker, even for the 1 year, there was a report today saying he's willing to listen to an extension, which is kind of wild after Soto. But again, even if his price rose, what did it rise to 350, 400? I mean, he's not a $760 million player. Steve Cohen's not going $800 million for Kyle Tucker. You can maybe, hey, let's see if you give him $320 million of security, and the Yankees brand still means something. It meant something to Juan Soto, who almost came back.
Yeah.
That's going to get lost, and we understand why, because he didn't sign here. So I'm not here sitting being like, the disrespect of the Yankees brand has to stop. I understand. He left. His new ESPN report claims his dad tried to go to the clubhouse to give Soto food, but MLB rules from the steroid era, security said you can't come in here because family members were found to have served as PED mules. I mean, I don't know why you want to hold the Yankees responsible for that, but people are. It sounds like a guy following normal security protocols. I'm sorry Juan Soto didn't like it. But again, he was about to come back to the Yankees, and then Steve Cohen found another $50 million. So let's not forget about that when we're talking about suites and security. It's fun fodder, but in reality, Yankees gave him a really high offer, wanted to retain him. He may have been a Red Sox fan as a child, but he was a Yankees fan last year because he knows the people in the Yankees clubhouse. These people aren't fans anymore. Like Rafi Devers, he teamed up with on the Dominican Republic team. That matters more than his childhood fandom of Manny Ramirez.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge was on his team last year. That matters more than when he hated the Yankees when he was 7. Like, I don't know why I have to tell everybody that, but he brought them to the World Series last year. I'm going to give these winter meetings a B, but it's as close to a B plus as it possibly could be, given that it started with losing Juan Soto. Here's the deal. The Juan Soto Yankees team that made to the World Series last year was carried by Juan Soto. There's a reason why the whole free agent pursuit, we were split between saying, why are you saying that why is everyone criticizing the Yankees? They made the World Series last year, and knowing deep down, it's impressive. I'm not saying it's a weak American League. I don't think it was. I think those were strong teams the Yankees beat. They were weaker than previous great teams, and the Yankees were certainly weaker than previous American League representatives because Anthony Rizzo, bum wrist or not, was a step back from Anthony Rizzo of his prime. Gleyber Torres was fantastic in the postseason, but not all year. Anthony Volpe was bad most of the season. Alex Verdugo was bad most of the season. Aaron Judge, subpar defense in center field. Juan Soto, extremely subpar defense in right field. Catcher, Austin Wells, disappeared in September. Rotation, you were left with 2 guys by the end of the season. One of those was Carlos Rodon. Luis Gil was good for 3 erratic innings. Clark Schmidt was good for 4 great innings and a terrible 5th, resulting in 3 earned runs. That's just what you were working with. The names did not match the production. So, holes around the diamond. In reality, when you're looking to pivot plan B, we were just all worried that they would sit back and go, all right, put all our eggs in the Soto basket. It's going to be way harder to build a competitive team without him, so let's just not. But if there was ever an indication that Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman do not feel that way and were not lying when they said they were ready to be aggressive, it was the Max Fried signing, where they were hot after the player, made that happen quickly, knew the Red Sox needed someone exactly like Fried, and were in the bidding, 7-190. The Rangers were at 7-190. They reached out to the Yankees and said, you get to, I don't remember what it was exactly. It was like, if you can get to David Price's record, you'll have the player. $
1 million over David Price's record, and it was done deal.
The Yankees offered like 210, and they said, if you can get to 218, we'll get it done. And they did it. They didn't dance around. They didn't start to look elsewhere. They didn't pivot to Nathan Eovaldi. They went with a guy who, we talked about this on the show, couldn't care less about year 7 and 8 right now. You know who's under contract in year 7 and 8 right now? No one. Absolutely nobody. Max Fried is the only expenditure. So if it's a great one, if he's great or passable or solid through age 40, then love it. If he can adjust over time and as his fastball loses zip, the curveball stays effective, fantastic. If those are 2 bad years at the end of the contract, Rodon's gone. Even Aaron Judge is gone. I know no one is thinking about the end of Aaron Judge's contract, but by the last 2 years of Max Fried's contract, he will not be here.
Wow.
Actually, that's not true. One of those.
It's one.
One of those he'll overlap. But
at that point, that'll be a dump trade of sorts.
Yeah, or he'll come back for maybe he's Hall of Famer chasing 500.
Maybe he's Tom Glavine.
I don't know. I don't know what's going. Maybe my head falls off and rolls away, and then I don't have a head anymore. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I do know that almost all Stanton gone, Cole gone, all these big contracts will be off the books by then. So they went the extra mile to get that done. They did something that only they can do and a select few other teams can do, and just completely swallow that to get the player they wanted. Now, the Max Fried signing is the reason why not only can they afford to trade a Marcus Stroman, who they're desperate to trade, or a Nestor Cortez in his final year, Luis Gil is on the table, and that has allowed them to get into the Kyle Tucker conversation. I do not care that Randy Miller put out a column today saying they're offering crap. According to an Astros executive, Randy Miller trying to set a Cal Ripken-like streak of being wrong every fucking day in a different way. Has decided that the Yankees are not offering any sort of value in a trade package for Kyle Tucker. That's his right. I heard they were going to offer over $550 million for Juan Soto, and they surpassed that by $210 million. So I'm not going to even take Randy Miller's reporting on day one of negotiations at face value in any capacity. Listen to what Jack Curry said. He recommended that the Yankees go hard after the player. That's right. So I feel like Seiya Suzuki, Isaac Paredes, and either Matt Shaw or Cam Smith, which is the rumor that the Cubs are willing to include. The Phillies are also talking about Kyle Tucker. That Cubs offer that I just said out loud is stronger than any Yankees offer without Jason Dominguez, in my opinion. But that might not be a real offer. And also, my opinion doesn't matter. What the Houston Astros want matters. And the Astros might believe that Luis Gil, Ben Rice, Chase Hampton, and Spencer Jones is a stronger offer. And look at what happened last year with Juan Soto. Juan Soto got traded. Everyone's already making fun of the Yankees for pursuing Kyle Tucker, so I know everyone knows Juan Soto was a rental. Juan Soto got traded for Michael King 2 years. Michael King had made 10 great starts at that point in time. Luis Gil has a better body of work as a starter than Michael King. Wild, but true. Johnny Brito and Randy Vasquez. Quad A, organizational fodder, solid pitchers. Drew Thorpe, top 100 prospect, change-up reliant. His ceiling is limited, we think, or maybe he's an outlier. But either way, he was flipped for Dylan Cease. The Padres saw enough of him after like a month and used him as an asset. And Kyle Higashioka, who we love, but is a backup catcher. And the Yankees also took on Trent Grisham's money. So Kyle Tucker's value should be far lower than that. And if that Cubs package is on the table, take it. That's a great package. But if the Yankees are involved here and if the Astros are willing to deal with the Yankees, it's going to be less painful than the Soto package, which hasn't caused me an ounce of pain. Not even an ounce. They got
people
one
like to pretend it does, though.
Series.
People love to pretend it does.
Yes.
Look what you gave up. Red Sox fans comparing the Crochet package to it. It's like these are two different things. Not even close to the same thing. What would, anyway, we'll get into that in a minute. Already sick of Red Sox fans. Already, like, it just never ends. It's the minute something happens, and this is where my brain goes.
Well, they got Juan Soto. They got Juan Soto. His sister is shopping for houses in the Boston area, and she doesn't usually follow him from town to town. So that's really noteworthy that she's shopping for houses. And actually, maybe, again, she doesn't usually follow him from town to town. Maybe she's not following him. Maybe she's moving to Boston. He's not playing there. Maybe she is.
Maybe. Who knows? In terms of Kyle Tucker, Red Sox not gonna get in on this either way. I don't know.
I mean, what the Phillies have? Like the Phillies have the prospect capital. You'd think that they would be harder.
Yeah, do you think the Red Sox would?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they don't want to deplete that much. Supposedly they were shifting toward talking to the Mariners about a starting pitcher. Even though they don't want to trade a starting pitcher, they had internal strife and disagreement over signing Alex Bregman. Weird stuff going on in Boston, but in terms of what the Yankees would give up for Tucker, the reports are that the Astros love Luis Gil. I don't know what would accompany that. I don't know if you have any insight there, but if you look at the structure of last year's trade package for Soto, right? You look at someone like Michael King, who was essentially the headliner, if we're being honest. Like that was the quad A player that topped that deal. And Gil would be the same type situation this season. And I know it's a little bit different because you have a wide gap in age. Gil just won Rookie of the Year. But if you understand how value works, the Yankees have built Luis Gil up from essentially an injured, sunk cost. The Twins parted with him long ago in, I forgot what trade that was, but it's still funny to think about.
Jake Cave.
Jake Cave, that was it. And Gil made 7 starts between 2021 and the start of 2024. So 3 seasons, he pitched 7 games. And then in his age 26 season, look, I love Luis Gil. I'm not saying get rid of him tomorrow for nothing, but I am trying to paint a picture here in terms of what value means. So,
and it's not nothing. It's Kyle Tucker.
It's not nothing. No. Yeah, it's Kyle Tucker. So the previous, I guess, issue that a lot of people had with the Yankees is their failure to maximize trade assets. You go back to like someone like Mike Tauchman. You go back to someone like Oswald Peraza. You go back to somebody like Miguel Andujar, Clint Frazier, have your jokes, whatever. The Yankees did not maximize those players' values on the trade market, and they paid for it. And now we get clowned for it because, you know, the 13-year-olds were throwing out Andujar and Frazier trades for 2 years, and it became stale, and everyone thought it was a good joke. And I would agree with you. If any other team was doing that, or team's fan base was doing that over and over again, it would be a funny conversation to have. But now you have an opportunity where it's like, okay, look at Luis Gil objectively. Entering his age 27 season, I don't think that's a knock on him, but it's, you know, he's not entering his age 22 season. It's not like he's on a Paul Skeens trajectory. What do you do here? If you have the money to spend on pitching, and you have spent the money on pitching, they have 3 starters. I think shifting Carlos Rodon mid back end of the rotation will benefit him, maximize Cole and Fried, and then you have all these other depth pieces in between. You could get rid of Luis Gil, and you could replace 80% of that production left behind after Juan Soto's departure. So why would you not do that? Especially, again, if you do not have the options in free agency to spend money. There is not really anybody on the free agent market that can do what Kyle Tucker does and can come close to replicating Juan Soto's production. So you just, and look, there are warning signs with Luis Gil too. Struggle with control, led the league in walks. We witnessed it. Very tough time settling down in some outings. Can get very laborious through the first 2 to 3 innings. Pitch count runs high, and then you're left in a situation where you got to dig into the bullpen early on in the games. This is just weighing the pros and cons. Again, I like Luis Gil. If he's on this pitching staff next year, I am excited. If he's dealt for an all-world talent in Kyle Tucker, that's the price you got to pay. So anybody who's saying, oh, it's just a year, or this is obviously a promising talent that's going to be cost-controlled for a while, the Yankees, it doesn't matter, because cost-controlled talent only matters so much for this team, because, again, they need to be competing and they need to be in tip-top form over these next 3 years. Remember, this is the window of contention. Cole's got 4 years left, and you have to think the last 2 years of that deal, he's going to regress a little bit. Aaron Judge probably has 3-4 years of prime left. Then that's it. Giancarlo Stanton's gone in 3 years. List goes on and on in terms of players either leaving in free agency or aging out of their deals, or, you know, hitting their primes. So Kyle Tucker, 1 year, it might be a tough pill to swallow if you're watching him walk next offseason, but the eye on the prize for 2025, I don't know how many times we have to stress the AL still. What AL team made moves that made you scared at the winter meetings, everybody? Say it in the chat. Nobody. The Red Sox, yes, the Red Sox going after Garrett Crochet. I think that's a badass deal for them. But they gave up a lot, and they only have 2 years of control of him. And the Red Sox, in my opinion, are 2 to 3 impact acquisitions away from being a real contender. So there's still work to do there. I'm not doubting them in any sense of the word, but Crochet needs to be accompanied by some other stuff. And you look at the Astros, if they're trading these players, Framber Valdez was involved in some rumors, they're tearing down a little bit. The Mariners, I know they're not technically a contender right now because they didn't make the playoffs, but they haven't upgraded the offense. Orioles are apparently not spending money. Anybody want to explain that? Because I don't get it.
By choice, trying to be innovative, trying to be cute. Yeah.
Blue Jays missing out on everybody again. It's the same old offseason for them. I don't know. AL Central, Tigers not really capitalizing on their hot end to 2024. Twins apparently selling and getting rid of heavy, or at least trying to gauge the interest on higher salaries because of their financial situation. Guardians doing some weird stuff. So like nobody's making moves. So this is the Yankees again, off season to lose. And it doesn't matter what assets they give up if they are improving their 2025 and 2026 outlook. So that's how I feel about it. You know, if it's a massive overpay and they're taking from positions of weakness and they're saying, do whatever it takes to get Kyle Tucker. Yeah, it's a different conversation, but I don't think they're going to do that. And in terms of the Cubs offer, you're right. I don't know how true that is, but on paper, if that was the offer, shouldn't that have already been accepted?
Yeah.
Shouldn't have? Yeah. I mean, yeah. Had to have been.
Before anybody left, that should have been taken. That's the thing. I don't know if the Yankees are going to get Tucker. They have to overcome the Astros of it all, the hurdle. The Astros hate us. Fine. But apparently the Astros like Loaisiga. So first step, mission accomplished. Now let's talk. I'm not trading Loaisiga for anyone except Kyle Tucker, but I obviously entertain him for Kyle. I don't know who else is available, but there's no one in Kyle Tucker's stratosphere that has been mentioned so far. There even got so wild that people were talking about, hey, you know, take on Mike Trout's deal. Like, could that? I don't think that Mike Trout plays 20 games a year at this point. I mean, if you get true talent Mike Trout and you have to give up very little, then sure, you can add another tough deal to your docket. But I think Kyle Tucker is sort of the be all end all, and Cody Bellinger being the 1B. Whether they get Tucker or not, that's where you pivot. And depending on what the Cubs do, depending on if they clear Seiya Suzuki, I don't know if Bellinger is more or less available. The Cubs ask to tell the Yankees to pick up the entirety of Bellinger's contract it proves why the Cubs have not done good business for like 3 or 4 years.
But I would do it. I would take on, if they end this offseason with Bellinger and Tucker, I think it's a massive win. I truly do.
I'm not even a Bellinger fan, but I just objectively, after looking at what this roster did last year and their deficiencies, like Jason Dominguez in center field instead of Aaron Judge, Aaron Judge in right field instead of Juan Soto. Judge might be the only better hitter than Juan Soto in baseball. So wash or upgrade. Center field Dominguez, we'll see. Let's see. Obviously a downgrade from Aaron Judge, but a clear upgrade from Alex Verdugo. And then if you get Cody Bellinger, overall, I think the talent of that outfield is, look, it's not Judge, Soto, and a third party, but it's pretty damn good. Jazz Chisholm, Caleb Durbin, we're looking for above average production at second base where we got none last year. First base needs to be filled. Either sign Teoscar Hernandez and move Bellinger to first, or trade for Bellinger and get Nathaniel Lowe, Brandon Lau, Josh Naylor. If you circle back to Christian Walker, if you can get him at 3 years, you get him. But I kind of suspect that somebody has a 4-year offer out for him right now, which is why the Yankees backed off. The rumors said they were skittish of losing draft picks. I doubt that. Logic doubts that, though, because they've signed Max Fried, and then we're about to lock down Christian Walker, and then all of a sudden we're like, actually, never mind. We just remembered we lose more draft picks. Like, I think Kyle Tucker distracted them, and Jake Berger going to Texas, making Lowe available, and they realized how cheap Jake Berger was. They're like, we can get power out on the trade market that we maybe weren't expecting. Yeah. So I think it changed the trajectory. They could always get Walker, but I would rank him last in terms of most likely. Go out and try your darndest to get Tucker. Try to get Bellinger regardless, and then get one more bat if you don't get Tucker. It's those two, or it's one of those two and one additional bat. I have my eyes on Kyle Schwarber next year. I hate to do it, but he is going to be a free agent next winter. So is Kyle Tucker.
I love Kyle Schwarber.
So is Kyle Tucker. But hey, we're talking about let's go to the Red Sox because we have been messing with them a little bit. They get Garrett Crochet yesterday. You touched on this.
Yeah.
The Yankees were a finalist for Garrett Crochet, one of 5 finalists. The package demanded, we don't even know how big it was. The Red Sox had to give up 4 players. The Yankees presumably would have also had to give up 4 players, highlighted by Jason Dominguez and George Lombard. Yankees said no. I would have also said no, because the Yankees were able to spend money on Max Fried. Garrett Crochet's first start of last season was remarkably impressive. It was also his first start of his MLB career. We got a half year of incredible Garrett Crochet, all-star last year. Second half of the season, 12 starts, 38 innings, was somewhat they were trying to innings limit him, and he had a 5.12 ERA. He has ace stuff. It's the kind of chance that the Boston Red Sox, with Red Sox fans are saying, why didn't you just pay money for Max Fried? Because they don't like to pay money and they have overflowing prospects from the farm system. So yes, if you're the Red Sox and you're not going to miss Kyle Teal and you're not going to miss Braden Montgomery, then go out and get Garrett Crochet. But I would get another starter if I'm the Red Sox, and I think they will. I would get more proven offensive talent if I'm the Red Sox, and I don't know if they will. I think they're sort of prepared to bounce back Trevor Story, bounce back Tristan Casas. You know, the window opens in 2026 or whatever. And maybe it does, but 2 years of Garrett Crochet, that's it. Makes their rotation scarier, gives them higher upside. But of all the guys I did not want the Yankees to overpay in terms of either monetary value or trade packages this offseason, Garrett Crochet was number one of I'm not interested. And Corbin Burns was number two, and he's the one who's still available, and he's going to get $250 million from the Blue Jays or the Giants. I'm not upset by this at all. I had assumed entering the offseason the Red Sox would get Fried. Pleasantly surprised we did instead. Garrett Crochet is just, you know, the Chris
32
Sale,
career starts.
The Chris Sale comparisons are too easy, and I think the best Chris Sale comparison is that he falls apart down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're trading for a controllable starting pitcher, it's going to cost you. So it doesn't matter. It's what have you done for me lately, right? And what has Garrett Crochet done? He pitched a really good first season in the rotation and logged 32 starts and proved that he was healthy and had the highest strikeout rate in the league. So that's going to pay the bills. You look at his body of work and it's inconsistent. Missed time with injury, was a reliever, didn't start games until this year. And again, only has 2 years left. You go back to last year, and I don't know how true this is again, because they were rumors and we didn't know how much they influenced, but there were contenders interested in acquiring him, and the Padres were one of them. Supposedly there was Crochet holding up the deal because he said he wanted a contract extension if it meant he was going to pitch deeper into the season. So like, that's just stuff you don't want to deal with as any team. It's like, the system is the system. Yeah, you could say arbitration needs some sort of a lift, or it's a little bit unfair because it takes you too deep into your late 20s or early 30s. But like, it is what it is. And Crochet is not really the guy who has that leverage. Again, first year starting. At that point, he had 20 good starts under his belt, and he's trying to negotiate a contract extension. Answer is no, buddy. But yeah, in terms of what the Red Sox did, like, that's a big package. And do I care about prospects usually? No, I don't. But what have Red Sox fans been doing these past 2 years? They have been telling me, they've been knocking on my door, they've been sending me mail. Mm-hmm. They have been in my mentions telling me that this farm system is top-notch, can't be beat, one of the deepest you'll ever see. And that's great. You could trade from that surplus, right? Get talent that you want. One could say that for 2 years of Crochet, throwing Kyle Teal into that trade might have been irresponsible. Again, if this was the Yankees and they were going all out for somebody that they really wanted and believed that that talent would put them over the edge, I'm not complaining one bit. But again, Crochet added to this rotation, makes it a good rotation. Does it put them over the top? No. If you're banking on a Trevor Story bounce back, if you're hoping that the second base situation solves itself, if you're hoping that the younger players from last year take that next big leap, which again we know is very unpredictable, then that's a recipe for failure. If you're not insuring yourself against all these regressions or all these unexpected occurrences. So the biggest thing for me is that if the Red Sox want to go out and make another trade, I think they're a little bit limited because I don't know how much you're going to want to deal from the top end of that farm system.
They need all the guys they have left. Anthony is going nowhere. Campbell's going nowhere. And I think Campbell is their opening day second baseman. And Meyer, I don't like Meyer. Like, I don't understand him as a prospect. The scouts are higher on him. And obviously I trust the scouts' opinions, but his shoulder has been injured several years in a row. He has not met that production standard when he's reached the top level. So I thought he'd be in this trade. And I honestly think the White Sox were probably like, we're not doing it with him and Montgomery. Yeah. Can you give us Teal and Montgomery? Losing Teal is going to really hurt. The comments are, of course, laughable. Typical Yankee fan response. If they'd gotten Crochet, they'd be doing backflips. Red Sox get him, bad deal, sour grapes. good deal. Trade you have to make. Crochet, top of my list of people I did not want this offseason. Look back, rewind the tape, go to the website. Last summer, I mean, I don't want the Yankees surrendering the precious few assets they have for Garrett Crochet. It's a much better deal for the Red Sox. It's a much better chance for Boston to take than for the Yankees to take. Has nothing to do with Crochet, the player. And yeah, here we go. Thank you, Platypus. Never understand non-Yankee fans in the chat. Never spent a second of my life in a Mets or Red Sox chat. Couldn't agree with you more. Neither have I. It's a good deal for the Boston Red Sox and a good risk for them to take. They are on the up and up. They should be acquiring 25-year-olds with ace-type upside.
Yeah.
But the Yankees in win-now mode with precious few prospects behind them. And Jason Dominguez would have had to be in the Crochet deal. We know that. Mm-hmm. He's supposed to start for this team. I'm not trading him for anyone except Kyle Tucker. The Yankees went ahead and used their financial capital to get Max Fried. They now have a 7-man starting rotation. I'm not making that 8 with Crochet, and I'd rather have Fried than Crochet.
Yeah, and look, if the Red Sox had signed Fried and then traded for Crochet, I might be pooping my pants a little bit.
And if they still sign Corbin Burns, then we will do a completely different podcast. Crochet, they needed to come away from this offseason with an ace. They got an ace-type upside player, and they gave away people who are really bummed to be on the Chicago White Sox. That is a fact. But I think Braden Montgomery was destined to be traded. Mm-hmm. Like, they drafted him to use him as a trade piece. They were basically like, I cannot believe this guy fell to us. We already have 7 high upside outfielders. We're going to use this guy. But Teal, I think, could have been a real cornerstone player for the Red Sox. I think if they had to choose between one of them to get rid of, it would have been Meyer. But the White Sox also knew that. Mm-hmm. And as terrible as Chris Getz did in last summer's Eric Fedde trade, where he got absolutely nothing and gave the Dodgers a World Series, he did really well in this Garrett Crochet trade with the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox did well as well.
I think so too. I fully agree. My whole philosophy is I think you spend money first before making trades. That's just my take. Because with the free agent pool thinning and with more and more guys coming off the market, your ability to spend money decreases. And we know the Red Sox have been a little bit protective of their investments in the last 6-7 years. So now that financial aggression gets even lesser. Trade market is always taking its time. The trade market is constantly always materializing. Teams are holding out on assets to get a higher return. And maybe that could have been the price with Garrett Crochet. Like, if you waited another couple weeks, maybe you have to surrender another top prospect. So maybe the Red Sox did good here. But again, it's about fit and it's about outlook. And the Red Sox crumbled down the stretch with the current personnel that they have. And pitching kind of wasn't really their problem last year, at least what I watched. Like, I think that overall they had a solid pitching staff. They had guys who regressed eventually because you're not maintaining that April, May output. It just doesn't work like that.
A bunch of number threes, just endless number threes who got worse as the summer went
on. So getting an ace-like pitcher is definitely a good idea. I'm also worried about, I like the flow of their lineup, but there are a lot of question marks in terms of maintaining that production. Like, Rafael Devers for me is the only guy in that lineup that I'm saying, okay, yeah. Jarren Duran, that was a career year for him. Tristan Casas had a good year in 2023, missed a lot of time last year with injury. We still don't know what to expect of him, I think. Wilyer Abreu, I like a lot, but again, it's that rookie situation where it's like, what are you going to do next year? Mm-hmm. Cedar Rafaela, same type deal. Vaughn Grissom was a bust. Maybe he comes back and he figures it out. Connor Wong's been great for them, so that's an advantage at the catcher position. Maybe allowed them to say, you know what, we'll get rid of Teal. Maybe we extend Connor Wong, and that's our move. But yeah, for me, it's just fit and it's sensibility in terms of what you have in the short term. And Garrett Crochet, to me, is a short-term play because I don't think any team is signing to him an extension, right? Like, I'm not just singling out the Red Sox here. The man is not signing a contract extension unless you go above market right now for a contract extension, which is what we've seen be the only effective way of doing it with pitchers. And I don't think the Red Sox are doing that. And I don't think most teams are doing that because that is bidding against yourself before the player even hits free agency. So it's technically bad business. So that's where my thought process comes in. Am I afraid of Garrett Crochet? Yeah, I think he's really good. And I think he'll give the Yankees problems because the Yankees can't hit lefties. So it's good strategy. But in terms of getting the Red Sox to win the division, no, there still needs to be 3 more moves that are made.
I do think they're a playoff team, though, and the American League, like we said, mid. So the move that had to be made was made. I think they'll miss Kyle Teal. You have to give to get. That's how trade work. I had no interest in it. Again, the Yankees have fewer assets than they do. Jason Dominguez is one of their very few elite assets. I had no interest in surrendering him for Garrett Crochet.
No.
Good job doing that, Boston Red Sox. 2 more quick hits before we sign off. We appreciate everybody joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
181 on the stream. Bunch of folks in the chat. We are here every
Couple people
Monday.
at my door. They're knocking on my door. They're like, listen, we want to hear
the Red Sox people sending you mail again, dropping off handwritten letters with like little pieces of magazines cut up and pasted there, telling you that, it's an overpay. Thank you for joining us here every Monday, Thursday, 2:00 Eastern, and then the audio feed on all podcast platforms afterwards to subscribe and download. 9 people just left the feed while I was thanking them, so fuck you. Jonathan Loaisiga goes back to the Yankees yesterday. And look, people in the comments are like, oh, sour grapes, you would have said a different thing. All right, great. I'm not changing my tone on this. I did not want Jonathan Loaisiga back. The only reason I would accept him is the exact way they got him, at a 1-year price with a team option, cheap 1 year. There's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal. That said, I could not be clearer about this. High talent arm, 100-mile-an-hour cutters. You can't beat it when he's on. He's often on when he's healthy. He's never healthy. If it's a luxury item, fantastic. Awesome. Great. You might end up with 6 elite back-end relievers if you don't rely on him. If you rely on him to replace Tommy Kahnle or Clay Holmes, the Mets' new number 2 starter, huge mistake. Massive. He barely participates in major league action. And we said last year you have a chance to non-tender him. If you're looking to non-tender anybody, why would you pay this man who never appears in a game and is getting a raise the last year? And they decided to pay him, and he throws 3 innings and undergoes internal brace surgery. Not quite Tommy John. He's supposed to be back by the end of April this year. Again, glad we have him. If he is a complete wild card, you're throwing a dart at the board saying, if this pans out, we get him. If this doesn't pan out, then it is what it is, then fine. But if you have Jonathan Loaisiga penciled into your depth chart as a setup man next year entering spring training, you have lost the plot. You cannot do that.
Fully have lost the plot. This is what I argued against last year. My whole thing with it, again, this year, we don't know the details of this contract. We know it's a 1-year deal with a team option for next year, but the finances have not been disclosed, and there were more BS rumors yesterday from your favorite reporter suggesting that the Mets had a 2-year, $6 million deal on the table with an $11 million club option for the 3rd year. Was that it? It didn't make any sense.
Somebody had something that was like, there was a report that he was about to sign with the Mets for 3 years, $27 million. And then there was a report that the Yankees outbid the Mets. And I can't imagine that's true, or the Mets offer is true, because 1 year with an option, there's no way it goes up to like $11 million, but who knows? Yeah.
That article said it was like 2 years, 6.5, and then a 3rd year with a club option for 11. But
again, Randy Miller on the Joe DiMaggio hitting streak beat of trying to say something wildly incorrect every single day. It's like an advent calendar for shit taste.
Oh, he's just pulling out, taking the chocolates. It's good.
Yeah.
Loaisiga, 70 games over the last 3 years, 20 over the last 2. He had 1 really good season in 2021, a year that did not matter. I'm not going to say that is anything less from him, because he pitched incredibly well. And he looked like the closer in waiting for the Yankees, but regressed the year immediately after, then dealt with elbow trouble, then delayed whatever the inevitable was with the elbow trouble, ended up undergoing surgery for bone chips in 2023, then returned in the beginning of 2024, needed Tommy John surgery. And then if you really want to talk before that, before 2021, injury problems his entire career. It's why the San Francisco Giants got rid of him. He pitched a grand total before his 2021 season with the Yankees, and I know 2020 was shortened, but he still missed time because of injury in that season. So 36 games in total the 3 years prior with the Yankees. So I don't know why they can't quit some of these players. I really don't. It just goes back to so many other mistakes that they've made with injured guys who they try to bring back as bargain bin options where it's going to help the payroll and help them make other acquisitions. But Loaisiga is essentially going to have a rehab year this year, and we've seen how that works. He just got Tommy John. He's throwing now. He's going to be ready for at least the start-ish of 2025, but he's not going to be the same. And if he is the same, he won't be the same until way later in the year. And again, if the Yankees are projecting him to be a key piece in this bullpen, which I think that the front office believes that this guy has the stuff, because we watched it happen, right? 2021, electrifying.
Yeah.
When Michael King was traded last offseason, he was the Michael King in waiting. This is a guy that we have who can throw multiple innings and wipe out 6 to 9 batters in a flash. And in theory, you look at his stuff from 2021, you say, yeah, Jonathan Loaisiga can do that. In reality, you look at what he's actually produced since then, and you're saying, no, I can't do that. That is not a plan. That's not a feasible plan. And the Yankees do have the luxury here where they say, you know what? We'll bring you back for $3 million. We'll give you a good option for 2026 if you bring the heat. But we're going to see how that we're going to bring in a multitude of other guys. We're going to bring in 2 more high leverage relievers. You're going to be hanging out in the shadows. And if you emerge and you eventually take a spot, then great. But I don't think that's the thought process. I think the thought process is we have Jonathan Loaisiga. He's going to be our 7th, 8th, or 9th inning guy, depending on what happens. And then that's how we're going to go about it, without taking into account that he needs to get back up to speed. Again, pitched 20 games in 2 years. So what's his workload going to be like this year? Are you unleashing him for 70-plus innings this year? I don't think so. I don't even know if that's possible. So my frustration with this is that the Yankees cannot quit players who are either oft injured or players who just, you know exactly what they're giving you. Like, no offense to Gleyber Torres. Again, it's the ongoing conversation of the Yankees not getting rid of guys. They had years of being able to trade Gleyber Torres and get rid of him. They had years of being able to get rid of various other guys who overstayed their welcome, and they opted not to. And you know exactly what you're getting out of these players, and it's not enough to get you where you need to be. And Loaisiga, to me, is a representation of redundancy in that department, and that's where I think the Yankees have failed miserably over these last few years.
And please don't welcome Gleyber Torres back. Great player at his peaks, had his moments. I mean, now that you got money in your pocket, that's a page that we have to turn. I'm sorry.
Turn it.
If Soto's gone, we're improving this defense across the board. Nobody out of position. Nobody you have to grit your teeth.
Yeah.
The worst defensive player should be Aaron. I dropped the fly ball in Game 5 of the World Series judge, and he's pretty good. He doesn't make mistakes usually. So nobody out of position, normal spots, solid gloves across the board, utility players who matter. Cody Bellinger would be great. But one more trade before the winter meetings ended, and unfortunately was not a headliner. New York Yankees made a trade with the Red Sox late last night for whatever reason. The Red Sox traded Teal. Connor Wong is their catcher at this moment in time. I like that because I don't think Connor Wong has the highest ceiling in the world. We gave them a backup catcher in Carlos Narvaez. We have 1 million catchers on our 40-man, 5 to be exact before that. I thought they might trade Jose Trevino this offseason and make Narvaez their backup, and they've got higher ceiling options behind Narvaez. They did not do that. They opted to trade him to the Red Sox in exchange for Elmer Rodriguez Cruz, who was a 4th-round pick a couple years ago in the Red Sox number 13 prospect on MLB Pipeline. That's a big get. You hear about Narvaez going to Boston at first, and you're like, all right, thinning out your depth. Then there was some international pool money exchanged. We don't know if it's 2024 or 2025 for Roki Sasaki. It seems like it's for 2024, in which case it helps them clear up some last-minute bonuses. But, hey, either way, that's a high-quality arm from what we just agreed was a really top farm system. That's the value of Carlos Narvaez, who played 3 games last year and was the Yankees' 3rd catcher and was in danger of being surpassed by people behind him. And before we traded Agustin Ramirez for Chisholm, had probably been surpassed by Agustin Ramirez. I mean, win-win. I think this fills a need for both sides. I kind of can't believe that we were able to get an electric arm for Carlos Narvaez, someone who was borderline a non-factor in most Yankee fans' mind this offseason. Now, the more we give the Red Sox viable pieces, the more they trust us. I guess if the rivalry's dying, you might as well take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we're trading with the Red Sox every year now. Like
all the
what's
time,
going on?
constantly,
Why?
never
Yeah.
ends.
Refused to do business for 20 years and now making trades with each other since 2021. The Yankees had before this 5 catchers on the 40-man, I think was the number.
And they just added another one a couple weeks ago before the Rule 5.
They've 6?
No. That was the 5th.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so you got to get rid of one of those catchers. Narvaez was the eternal AAA guy, at least it felt like. Once Jose Trevino was not non-tendered and the Yankees made it clear that they're sticking with the catching duo of Wells and Trevino, obviously you have a surplus there to deal with. With the other acquisition here, you capitalize on the Red Sox's maybe a bit of desperation for another catcher after getting rid of Kyle Teal and not really having major league options beyond Connor Wong. They missed out on the backup catching option big time this offseason as well, which again goes back to the Red Sox. Like, what are you doing if you're not spending on the lowest tier options to fortify your roster? That's why I had a little bit of questioning about the Crochet trade. And then they give the Yankees international bonus pool money, which we thought initially, hey, is this for Roki Sasaki? And then Jack Curry popped on the winter meetings late night last night after we wrote about the trade and said this is exactly what it's for, or at least that's what it seems like it's for. I know the details aren't out yet. We don't know how much money they got. I don't even know. Can you still sign international free agents right now for last signing period?
You can, and Cotillo had 250,000, which every little bit helps. And we know that the Yankees are pitching Sasaki.
Yeah.
They said yesterday.
And aren't they projected to sign somebody else too? They're always projected to sign somebody out of.
They have a deal with the number 1 prospect in 2026's class. I hate this. Like, the time frames are all so off, but a shortstop in a future class, they also have a handshake deal with. They said yesterday their pitch to Sasaki is basically, we know you want to be one of the best pitchers in the world. We want to help you do that. I mean, that's their best pitch. And everyone throwing around the Sasaki quote where his agent said something about how he had trouble with the media in Japan and might prefer a smaller market. Afterwards, they asked his agent if he could handle New York, and he was like, yes, absolutely. So it's all posturing.
Yeah.
And the Yankees' best pitch, because money is not a factor here, as long as everybody goes in with an equivalent amount of money, with the max, you can max out, is, look at our track record of turning electric arms into stars. We do it over and over again. We reshape pitches. We change lives. Luke Weaver is our closer at this moment in time. He pitched for 3 teams in 2023 as a failed starter. I have a piece running on the site about how the Yankees should do the same thing with Tristan McKenzie. He was an elite prospect, a Yankee fan, top starter in baseball with 190 innings in 2022, hurt in 2023. Last year, made like 12 or 13, handful of starts, 5 ERA, didn't have the stuff. Okay, we'll swap. How about the guy we just got from the Red Sox for Narvaez and another top 20 prospect for Tristan McKenzie? Put him in the bullpen this year, see how it agrees with his arm, transition him back to the rotation if needed at a later date. Like, just do the thing. A lot of options here, and I do applaud them for getting creative with Narvaez, who I don't think had a real future here. That said, I did kind of expect him to be our backup catcher this year, and I guess it's going to be Jose Trevino.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. I like Jose Trevino a lot. We were speculating that the non-tender just might have made sense because you're trying to shed as much money to sign Juan Soto, but guess what? Juan Soto's not back, so you can have these luxurious ads in what is Trevino making, almost $4 million this year.
Something like that.
Loaisiga probably going to make 3-ish this year. You have the room to now add these expenditures that you wouldn't have been able to have if Juan Soto was making $51 million. So that's another advantage to this whole thing that everybody probably should pay a little bit more attention to. There's room for the Yankees to be more flexible. They can offer that 8th year to Max Fried and tell the Red Sox to take a hike. They can outbid apparently the Mets for Jonathan Loaisiga and say, we'll give you this extra, we'll give you a little bit more for 1 year if you stay here and you get an option. So that's another advantage that we can't ignore. And I hope they just keep adding appropriately when they can, and spending smartly is really what it all comes down to, because you look at the contracts on the books and everybody laughs at them, right? Everyone says, oh, DJ LeMahieu, you're so stupid. Giancarlo Stanton, the most expensive DH in history. And it's like, yeah, I mean, they made the deals, and if they don't make the deals, they're losers. If they don't give the 8th year to Max Fried, the Red Sox get him, and then they're actual losers. So you got to pick a lane here, folks. And if the Yankees, we talked about it 2 episodes ago with Danny Wexelman, there is no allure to coming to New York anymore. Very few players will take a pay cut to come here. They are coming to New York for top dollar. They're coming to New York for glory as well, but they're not taking a pay cut to do it. The legacy of the Yankees still looms large. It exists, and the history is undeniable, but the luster is gradually falling off. Every year, they do not win a championship. Every year, they do not make it to the World Series, and we just had 15 years of that, and we had Garrett Cole and Carlos Rodon as the 2 marquee free agent signings after the big Tanaka offseason, where Tanaka was the good expenditure and everything else was bad. So everything else was a trade or an extension. And most of the trades were bad, and most of the extensions were bad. DJ LeMahieu extension bad, Aaron Hicks extension bad. So they got to turn things around, and they have to make it a more appealing destination. And they are going to have to overpay. It's part of the deal, part of doing business. So in the world of Scott Boris's business, he controls all of the biggest clients for the most part. And even the next, the agents B and C still, Joe Wolf signing record deals left and right. Nobody knows his name because he doesn't have a monopoly over the league. He just has a bunch of high leverage guys that are high tier guys, and they sign big deals and they're involved in big trades. So the Yankees will be doing this forever. They will be giving that extra year. They will be overpaying AAVs. They'll be throwing in an extra $5 to $20 million to sweeten the pot and get somebody to come here. But you can't laugh at it because it's the cost of doing business now.
It sure is. And I do appreciate the comment saying, somebody asked someone to sell Sasaki on Coming to the Bronx, and the guy commented back, "I'm not Brian Cashman. I assume he knows what the Yankees are about." I agree. I would agree. But if anyone in the comments, we got 239 of you right now. If any of you are Brian Cashman, rest assured we are happy to help with your pitch. I think your pitch is going to go slightly better than the White Sox, who I know are also pitching Sasaki. Again, good job by the White Sox. Got to do it. But that's a tough one. That's a tough sales pitch, to be honest. I'll leave everybody with this because, again, Juan Soto's press conference is occurring right now. Shout out to Juan Soto. He took a really sad picture on a small table signing a contract with the Mets. We love Juan Soto. For everybody going around and trashing the Yankees brand and pulling up these stories about a driver or his dad delivering him food or whatnot, because that's what everyone else who's not a Yankee fan is hearing right now, right? That's the non-Yankees universe angle. That's what's on their Twitter feed. Here's what should be on your Twitter feed. Here's a clip of Juan Soto's own father from after the postseason. Soto has repeatedly said he loved his time in New York. After the Yankees clinched the pennant in Cleveland, Soto's father, also named Juan Jose Soto, raved in Spanish about his son's experience as a Yankee. Spectacular, Soto said during the Yankees on-field celebration. The Yankees are the home of baseball. It's the brand of baseball, and there isn't anything like playing for the Yankees. I thought we banned him I thought security banned Juan Soto's father. Why would he say that from the field? Why would he say such things about the Yankees organization? Spectacular. That's so odd. I thought that he wasn't allowed to give his son food, and it colored their experience forever. Apparently, even Juan Soto, even the jilted Juan Soto, came away from his New York Yankees experience satisfied, excited, thought it was spectacular. The family felt taken care of. The difference was $45 million, the ability to be the man. He is now the man in Flushing, Queens. We are building a team over here. Appreciate everybody stopping by to hang out with us today. We will see you next week. We will see you on Monday at 2 o'clock Eastern, Thursday at 2 o'clock Eastern. Come subscribe and turn your notifications on so that you know when we're live. We might be going live at odd times. If news breaks, if it's Kyle Tucker, or if Cody Bellinger, some drops in the next week or so, we will be here. We'll make sure to be on, although everybody seems to love these afternoon shows. So maybe we'll stick in the afternoon more often than go into odd hours. But
afternoon delight.
Either way, we hear you. We thank you. And again, subscribe, rate, review us on all podcast platforms too. Not just a YouTube show, although we love to be visual, don't we, folks? But we're also on audio platforms. So come visit us there as well. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
At Tommy's_takes. If you're going to review us and you want to make fun of us, that's totally fine. It's just got to be 5 stars. Say whatever you want. Have your fun. But the 5-star review has to be there. The text, whatever you want it to be. We prefer being nice, but we know sometimes we rub people the wrong way.
Well,
but
famously, we had a guy who kept leaving 1-star reviews and updating his 1-star review with new text. For those of you who are new to the show, you just keep changing it every month. Yeah. And then at some point, he upped it to like 4 and was like, I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's a pretty good show. I apologize. Like, okay. And then he changed it to 5 when we had Dave Winfield on the show last year. And he said, great Winfield interview, guys. That's a good get. So we won him over for some reason. Maybe we'll win you over too. If you leave us a low review, we'll keep working hard to change that. We'd love if you leave us a high one. Again, the message could be whatever. Love to see you come back here.
Yeah, and you can head on over to yanksgoyard.com. That's where all the written content is for you. We got plenty more beyond what we talk about on this podcast. Find us at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Have yourselves a good weekend. Winter meeting's over. Going to be some spillover from a lot of big names are still out there, both trade candidates and free agents. We will be wrapping up stuff from the next few days on Monday's podcast, 2 p.m. Eastern. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Let's go Yanks. Let's do it.
Let's go, everybody. We'll see you back here on Monday. Moves would be nice. Either way, we will be here. Take care.